the team that could pick 3 Huskies in the NBA draft. You're Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Do me a quick favor, see the little button on the bottom of your screen, click subscribe, helps our channel grow and our audience grow. And frankly, I truly appreciate all of your support. It's invaluable to me. Just wanted to get that out of the way right now. I know as UConn fans, especially in this offseason, coming off the euphoria of winning back-to-back national champions, winning in the transfer portal, winning on the recruiting trail, we don't want to see our guys go pro. It's the inevitability of rooting for college athletics. Sometimes it happens quickly with Steph Castle. Sometimes it gets a little more prolonged with a guy like Donovan Clingan. But if we're going to have our guys go to the pros, the guys that we really appreciate, all the things they've done at stores, you don't want them going to first-time NBA coaches or teams that have organizational chaos and distraction that lead to shortened careers and legacies, especially for the guys that we root for. So there's a real chance that one team and one coach with the type of pedigree befitting a 2-time national champion Donovan Clingan, the rare one and done McDonald's All-American and national champion Stephon Castle, and a player I know we don't want to see go, but Alex Karaban, could all realistically be picked in the first 35 picks in this summer's NBA draft by one man and one team. And you guessed it, it's Gregg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. They've been defined by unparalleled success, a commitment to fundamental basketball principles. Pop took over as a head coach and general manager in 1996, quickly transformed the Spurs into perennial contenders alongside franchise cornerstone Tim Duncan. Popovich installed a culture of discipline, teamwork, defensive prowess that have become synonymous with the Spurs' identity. Under Pop's leaderships, the Spurs have won 5 NBA championships, 99, 2003, 2005, 07, and 2014, showcasing their ability to adapt and maintain while still maintaining their core principles. Now, it's been a while for Gregg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs, but his legacy as one of the greatest coaches in NBA history is rooted not only in his on-court success, but also his integrity and leadership. He's left an indelible mark on the Spurs franchise and the NBA community as a whole. He's thoroughly respected, and throughout his illustrious career, we've definitely seen a dip, if you will, in the product that the Spurs have put on the court. And we definitely are losing 2 of the 3 guys. But if we're losing all 3, who better and what better organization to transition them into the pros than the San Antonio Spurs? The Spurs' chances are in a good position to land not only a top 5 pick, no worse than that, in fact. San Antonio will also receive a 2nd pick in the lottery, potentially no worse than 8, after receiving a first-round selection from Toronto as part of a 2003 NBA trade deadline for former Spurs center Jakob Poeltl. They'll know which 2 selections, and it could be the 5th and the 8th pick this Sunday. That is right around where we feel the top 8 picks are with Donovan Clingan and Steph Castle. I've seen them mocked kind of anywhere from 1 to 12, both of them. So we'll see May 12th when the draft lottery commences. But let's talk about this. You know, if it's a fit. If the Spurs get Clingan first in the top 5, they automatically compare him with the Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembayama, the 7'4" alien who just won Rookie of the Year, probably should win Defensive Player of the Year. Rob Douster of the Field of 68 has called Donovan Clingan the Great Wall of Bristol. What do you do if you put Clingan and Wemby together? What do we call that? The Great Wall of the Alamo? The difficulty teams would have scoring in the lane would be astounding. 7'4", 7'3". And how do you score with both of those guys? And the beauty is with Wemby's versatility, you can play him at the 3 or the 4 and put Donovan at the 5, pair DC with a team that already has a Jeremy Sochan, the Baylor freshman who has done a lot better than I ever thought he would in the NBA. But, let's, take that with a grain of salt. But I think the ability of some of these players, they also have Seton Hall great, and I'm trying not to butcher this name, Sandro Mamishkuchvili. Remember him? 6'11", lefty. Could parlay that in picking up Steph Castle as well in the draft. San Antonio's guard play is pretty thin at point guard. Their best point guard is former Duke player Trey Jones, who led them in assists on a team that finished 22-60. So they'll definitely be looking to make a splash with some younger, more talented players, and especially more efficient players. If you look at some of the numbers on the San Antonio Spurs, now granted it's a losing team, but their plus minuses are all in the negatives. And then you come to, lastly, Alex Karaban. If he gets significant interest from San Antonio, especially at pick 35, I would think long and hard about going. Gregg Popovich is 75 years old. He may end up getting, if you're Alex Karaban, you may end up getting 1 or 2 great seasons with Pop at the helm, and I would take advantage of it. There's not many like him, and it could be invaluable for your career. I've seen Donovan mocked to Charlotte as well, as high as 3, and even Detroit or Washington. God, I hope not. I've seen Steph mocked to Utah, which essentially would be Oklahoma City's pick, because they have that trade situation. Oklahoma City has like multiple first round picks for the next 100 years. That's why they're so good. And honestly, Oklahoma City would make a ton of sense for Steph. He would be just another young, uber talented guard / wing, and a great addition to Mark Dagnot's, also a former Husky, their offense. But I've seen Donovan mocked at 4 to Portland as well. And ironically, Portland could sneak high enough to grab an opportunity to get both Steph and Donovan. But the Spurs legitimately with 3 top 35 picks could end up with all 3 Huskies. And Alex Karaban he feels like he either is going to be going to the Nuggets or a team like the Celtics who pick late. But also, I love the fit of San Antonio because he's a winner, he's efficient, and he would fit into that Popovich mentality of being kind of the brain center. It's all subject to change once the draft lottery happens and we see the order. But, it's interesting to look at, and I think that team would make a lot of sense, especially with the amount of discipline and integrity that Pop brings to his team. So the parallels to him and having a Bobby Hurley, a bunch of guys that just coached, just were under Bobby Hurley's tutelage, would make an easier transition to the NBA. I apologize to anyone that's watched this before and said, stop yawning. I'm probably on about 2 hours sleep, so I apologize. Kids kept me up late last night, but we'll talk about our guard and wing rotation after this. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, we're back. I promise we did a little deep dive into what I think our rotation is going to be for our centers and essentially our centers, because our guards and wings are a combination of 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Because as people have pointed out, we're light at the power forward, but I think those people also think that we're playing 1997 Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley and Charles Smith, and Dale Davis and Antonio Davis from, I'm using Knicks and Indiana Pacers references because that kind of lineup just doesn't exist anymore in college basketball. And if it does, it's typically a team that's not very good. Or if they're very good, they have the outlier center like a Purdue team that had a 7'4" center who could dominate. But then their power forward is kind of, it doesn't make a ton of sense for that player to also get a lot of post presence. And so the idea of us having another bruiser at power forward does nothing, because when you have the ability to stretch the floor and have 4 shooters along with your center, it just makes UConn's, offense flow to the best of its ability. I think it would be a wasted spot to get a guy like Sean Stewart or a player that doesn't have that past 10-foot shooting ability. I think the mid-range game is not dead, but it's almost all but obsolete. And so the ability to kind of stretch the floor and only take those shots when the shot clock is winding down as a last resort is the reason why they brought in a guy like Aiden Mahaney, is why Ahmad Noel is on this team. Alex Karaban, who hopefully will come back, but if not, you have guys like Solo Ball. Haas can do that a little bit. Liam McNeely. So there's plenty of guys that are going to make those decisions. But my starting 5 going right now, if the season started today, is Ahmad Noel, Aiden Mahaney, Jalen Stewart, Alex Karaban, and Terrace Reed Jr. That's my starting 5. So I'm giving the nod to 3 newcomers, and I'm allowing our 2 multiple-time national champions to come off the bench, which is incredible, because you have a guy like Hassan Diarra, who is the 6th man of the year, who can play that role perfectly, mentor Ahmad Noel, and really kind of take a leap to the next step. That might be my biggest flip-flop or switch, because I could see Hassan easily being the starter. And then I have Terrace at center, because I love Sampson coming off the bench. I love his ability to change the pace of a game. Terrace Reed is not Donovan Clingan, but he's closer to Donovan than he is to Sampson, in the respect that he's the bigger body, in the respect that he's the larger man, 265, 270, maybe loses a little weight once he gets in the Dan Hurley practices. But I love the change of pace that Sampson can bring. If you brought in Terrace and he started and played the first 2 media timeouts, and then Sampson played the majority of the first half, and then maybe it kind of goes with the flow of who's playing better in that game. That's kind of where I see that rotation. But with the guards and the forwards, I think it's going to be a mixture. I think Aiden is going to start, because I think he allows the team to transition from Tristan and Cam pretty seamlessly to a guy that's already played in this type of offense and is going to be able to make reads and also take tough shots when the shot clock is winding down. The other thing I think Jalen Stewart gets the nod over Liam McNeely, not because there's a huge gap talent-wise, but because he has shown the ability to step up, and I think his time is now. I don't think Liam's going to snatch that away. I think you could see both of them start if Alex Karaban goes pro. But with Alex Karaban involved, I think it gives UConn the deepest team they've had in a very long time. Because if you look at the guys that I have on the bench right now, we have Hassan Diarra, 6th man of the year. Solo Ball, who Dan Hurley even admitted in his media availability, probably played the best of anybody off the bench in their biggest non-conference win against Carolina in the Garden, had 13 points. You have a McDonald's All-American, Liam McNeely, who can play the 2 or the 3 and slide into the 4 when they're stretching it out. Then you have Samson Johnson, a national champion, a guy that gives you great minutes off the bench, is a lob threat, is a great catch and traffic guy, can absolutely run up and down the floor and make the bigs on the other side tired. And then you have Jaden Ross. I mean, Jaden Ross is a 6'7", 6'8" shooting guard, small forward. He has the ability to get any shot he wants at any time because of his length and his jumping ability. I think he can really get downhill. I think he's a better shooter than what we've seen because we haven't seen a ton of him. So thinking about what that looks like, then we haven't even talked about Singari, who is going to be able to spell anybody that gets into foul trouble. So they are going to be a legitimate 10 deep if Alex Karaban comes back. That's why all of this talk about go get one more guy. They'll get one more guy if Alex Karaban goes pro just to fill a roster spot, not to compete for minutes on this team because there are no more. Where are you getting minutes on this team? This team is set up to perfection right now. And I've seen tons of comments, we're not going to be able to duplicate last year's team. Let me address this really quick. Last year's team was 37-3. They barely lost any games this year. They had 2 bad games and where they got blown out on the road, and 1 game where they lost to a Kansas team that shot like 60% from 3. Those were the 3 losses on the year. Then they go on and win the national championship by winning again, going on a 6-game winning streak and not losing any games by less than 13, 14 points. So you're not duplicating that. You can still, by the way, guys, you can win a national championship by winning close games. The 2014 team certainly did that under Kevin Ollie. As it's fun to just blow every team out because there's less anxiety. But look, this team is going to be different and they're going to have some growing pains. Do I expect them to be the number 1 team in the country? Probably not. I think they should be just based off of reputation and coaching prowess. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be a top 10 team, and this team is going to prove themselves. A lot of young guys in this team. A lot of questions will be answered. That's all I'll say. Well, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to make you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Well, yesterday we did my top 5 favorite players. Now we're going to do top 5 players of all time at UConn. You don't want to miss it. Coming up after this. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together to build each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome your prizes you unlock, and there's so much more to get. Unique stickers, you can trade with your friend to compete with albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton, including their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot Pachinko machine. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers or everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on the Google Play or App Store. Okay, guys. Lots of people in my YouTube mentions talking about, oh, no, this player, no, that player. Oh, God, Nadav Hennepeld, what a great pick here and there. This is my top 5 Huskies of all time. And I think it's pretty straightforward. I think there may be 1 or 2 surprises that you can argue with. And personally, guys, I don't care. I love all of you. I think every opinion that you have, whether it's giving it to me on social media, on X, at Mark Zanetto CBB, or on YouTube, you can find me on Instagram as well at Mark Zanetto. Any suggestion, any thought process of why you think this player is better or not, it's all taken into consideration. Even if I don't agree with you, I respect it. Here's my top 5. Hopefully you respect it. If you don't, like I said, I don't care. Top 5 Huskies of all time. Chris Smith's impact. Number 5, Chris Smith, the all-time leading scorer. His impact on UConn basketball is defined by his remarkable scoring prowess, making him the most prolific scorer in program's history. Over his illustrious 4-year career, spanning 127 games, Smith amassed, again, a school record 2,145 points. His sharp shooting ability is highlighted by his impressive tally of 242 made three-pointers, placing him among UConn's top 10 in this category. Chris Smith was also, from a personal perspective, a Connecticut kid, Bridgeport. One of Calhoun's biggest recruits to start his illustrious career as a coach at UConn. Also 6'2", had incredible jump on his lift on his jump shot is what always stuck out for me. Also a namesake of a friend of mine, married into my family. Gotta love Chris Smith. Any Chris Smith, right? Furthermore, Smith holds the distinction of being the program's all-time leading scorer in double-figure scoring games with an impressive 107 such performances. Smith's career scoring average of 16.9 points per game reflects his consistency in offensive capabilities. His senior year of 91-92 was particularly outstanding as he elevated his scoring to 21.2 points per game while shooting an impressive 42% from beyond the arc, earning him first-team All Big East honors and solidifying his place in UConn basketball history. I believe it was also a Big East tournament MVP in 89-90 season. So correct me if I'm wrong there. Number 4 on my list, Richard Hamilton. Richard Hamilton made UConn history by becoming only the second player alongside Chris Smith to surpass the 2,000-point mark, achieving this milestone with a total of 2,036 points over 3 seasons. His impressive scoring average of nearly 20 points per game across 103 appearances ranks him third in the school's record books. Notably, Hamilton achieved remarkable consistency twice, averaging 21.5 points per game, including during the championship-winning 98-99 season. During that memorable season, Hamilton not only excelled in scoring, but also demonstrated versatility by grabbing a career-high 4.8 rebounds per game. His outstanding performance earned him consecutive Big East Player of the Year awards, consensus first-team All-American honors in the crucial 99 NCAA tournament. Hamilton elevated his game even further, averaging an impressive 24.2 points on 50% shooting. He capped off his exceptional tournament with a standout 27-point performance in the championship game, earning him prestigious Most Outstanding Player accolade. I remember that game almost shot for shot. One of my favorite games is him going baseline and Billy Packer going, oh, look, they're going to call a charge on him. I think it might have been Langdon or Carawell that jumped in his way, but they didn't call it. He had his little patented, not necessarily a fadeaway, but baseline mid-range jump shot, 10 or 12 feet, nothing but net. And we moved along. That's when I felt good about the game. When I felt like, not only I felt like we were going to belong no matter what, but that we weren't going to get, cheated out of it by Duke getting calls on BS, for lack of a better word. Number 3 on the list, Kemba Walker, celebrated as one of UConn's most electrifying players, etched his name in the school's record books with 1,783 points, placing him among the top 10. During his final season in 10-11, Walker showcased his versatility and leadership, leading the team with an impressive 23.5 points, 4.5 assists, and almost 2 steals per game while guiding UConn to its 3rd national championship. Walker's stand-up performance earned him first-team Big East honors and the MVP title of the Big East tournament, where he dominated with an average of 26 points, 47% shooting, along with 6.4 rebounds per game. Beyond scoring, Walker's defensive prowess, which is always my favorite, was evident as he ranks among the school's all-time leaders with steals in 185. Additionally, Walker holds the 2nd spot in UConn history for made free throws, totaling an impressive 501 during his career. And I'm going to say this to give you perspective. If you didn't see Nadav Hennefeld, he had 137 steals in one season. Kemba Walker ranks as one of the all-time leaders in steals, and he played 3 seasons and had 185. So put that into perspective when I talked about how Nadav was one of my favorite players to watch. Number 2 on the all-time list, Emeka Okafor, a standout 2-time first-team All-Big East performer. League Defensive Player of the Year, Okafor reached new heights during the title-winning season, averaging a career high of 17.6 points, 11.5 rebounds. His stellar performance earned him recognition as the Big East Player of the Year, first-team consensus All-American. Okafor's impact extended beyond scoring and accolades. He became one of 6 Huskies to secure over 1,000 rebounds, finishing with an impressive total of 1,091. Okafor's defensive prowess was unmatched, clearly, as evidenced by his school record 441 blocks, including a nation-leading 155 blocks during the 02-03 season. Okafor boasts a remarkable career field goal percentage of almost 60%, 59.3, placing him 4th in UConn's record books. His crowning achievement came in the 04 season, of course, when he was named the most valuable player of the NCAA Final Four, leading UConn to its 2nd national championship. Throughout his tenure, Okafor earned multiple honors, including National Defensive Player of the Year and the Big East Player of the Year, solidifying his place as UConn's all-time greats. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Okafor's academic prowess. And also Kemba, too, graduating in 3 years. But I believe Okafor graduated with a degree in economics. I'm probably wrong on that, but there was a mythology with him that he was not only just this incredible worker and physical specimen, but his brain power matched his physical power, and he was a true unicorn in that respect. So please, if you were a student during that time and you have stories about Okafor, I'd love to hear them. Lastly, my number one player on UConn of all time, the only player in UConn's men's basketball history to have his uniform retired, Ray Allen. It's got to be Ray. He made his mark on UConn basketball during his 3-season tenure, playing in 101 games, amassing a total of 1,922 points, a feat that places him 5th in school history. His impressive career scoring average of 19 points per game ranks him tied for 4th all-time UConn players, demonstrating his consistent statistics. Additionally, Allen's 705 made field goals stand as the third highest total in UConn history. Beyond statistics, Allen's impact extended beyond the collegiate level. He achieved Olympic success, earning a gold medal, gaining recognition beyond the court with a prominent role in Spike Lee's film He Got Game. Allen's accolades during his time at UConn include being a 2-time first-team All-Big East selection, League Player of the Year, a consensus All-American, and National Player of the Year by United Press International for his outstanding 95-96 season. During this season, Allen showcased his versatility, averaging 23 points, 6.3 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.7 steals per game. Pretty incredible. That's my top 5 UConn players of all time. There is absolutely wiggle room. If I missed one of your favorite players and you want to talk to me about it, please reach out to the Locked On email, lockedonucon@gmail.com, or hit me up on the YouTube comments. As always, be respectful and just kind of share your thoughts. Love to hear from you. If you haven't liked or subscribed to the podcast yet, again, would love to have you be a subscriber so you never miss another show of Locked On UConn. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto, asking you to stay locked in, stay connected, make sure your toughness meter is always rising. And as always, go Huskies.